Good evening and welcome to the October 2020 Park and Recreation Board meeting. Our first order of business is our roll call, and on the meeting tonight we have Mike Blundy,
here,
Michael Brody, Dennis Wasaki, Monica Tierney, Trish Bunn, and Kim Rock, and our liaison, Mr. James McCartney, and myself, Doug Kraus. Next is our approval of the September 3rd, 2020 Park and Rec minutes. Does anybody have any changes or comments regarding the minutes?
no comments.
No comments or changes. If we
Motion.
wanna, make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Yeah, motion to approve the September minutes of 2020.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Our next agenda item is member of the PAA, Noel Codispati, is going to talk to us about some PAA field improvements. So if you can let Noel into the meeting. And Noel, we did get the documents from Monica regarding the ask, so I'm going to turn it over to you and let you present, and we'll answer any questions that you may have. Or
Awesome. Thank you. Can you hear me okay, Doug?
yes, we can.
Okay, great. So the first ask that we're coming to the Parks and Rec Board for is a regrading of 7 of the fields, the 3 Stoddard fields, 3 Fred Allen fields, and the pool field. Essentially, we undertook a little bit of a bidding process thanks to Mike Brody and Sean Graham and some others that solicited some landscapers to essentially grade the lips. So it's the part from the infield into the outfield where it's creating kind of a dangerous situation for our players. So we would do that on those 7 fields. It's going to cost us about $7,000 to $8,000. We'd like to start the project in the next couple of weeks once most of our teams have finished up. And in conjunction with that, we would also be aerating and seeding the fields ourselves. Again, all the 7 fields that I mentioned for the regrading.
Well, does that cost include the mix?
The dirt.
I was
Yeah.
asking Noel if, I'm sorry, I turned my volume down a little bit here. Does the cost that you were talking about, the $7,000 or $8,000, include the top mix?
I'm actually not sure. Birdie, do you?
It was $1,000 a field. We're doing 7 fields, so I would assume that the extra $1,000 was for the infield, was for the mix. But I recall that it was $1,000 a field, and we're doing 7 fields.
Okay, I just didn't know if that was, if they were expecting the township to provide the mix like we usually do, or.
Yeah, I mean, the note that Monica stated, it says apply infield mix as needed and compact new infield dirt mix. So I just, I guess to
Oh, right. Yeah, and they would also be providing the seating, though the aerating itself we would be doing as volunteers.
Monica, just with the aerating and seeding, just in terms of what the crew has done in the past, I mean, is there anything particular that, in terms of type of seed or any guidance, since typically they've done that probably on PA's behalf, at least based on my recollection of my time in the league. So you're on mute, Monica. So.
Darn mute. I would have to check with Bob to make sure that we're using the same seed. That would be the biggest thing, but we can partner on this if they want to do it as a volunteer project this year.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with them volunteering their time and cost, obviously. Just want to make sure if there's anything specific that they recommend.
The biggest thing is just making sure we use the same seed. So as
Yep.
long as we're using the same seed and we're consistent, we'll be good.
Okay.
But I can work on that with Noel, the aerating and seeding. That's fine. I know you had a couple other things that you wanted to run by the board too, so I didn't want you to get lost on just one thing.
Oh yeah. So we also sent over a picture of a potential sign that we'd like to put on the side of the Stoddard snack bar in recognition of our 2019 8U World Series team. The sign itself isn't necessarily complete in terms of the finalized design that we'd like to use, but essentially we're asking for approval for a similar type sign, 3x3, some kind of metal type material, so that it could hang for essentially as long as possible instead of the material signs that we usually put on the outside fence. This is the preferred place we'd like to put a sign recognizing the World Series champs. But there have been some other recommendations, including signs similar to the ones that honor Greg Kiola and Robert Stoddard in front of the snack bar, like the I don't know, you call them more like a stanchion type of sign coming out of the ground. But where you see it in the picture on the side of the snack bar would essentially allow the most number of people coming onto the fields to see the recognition of the 8U team from 2019. And the idea really would be that going forward, we would come to the Parks and Rec Board probably every fall to maybe add a sign or two, depending on what kind of accolades our teams have achieved in that year.
Yeah, I mean, I've traveled to many ball fields and seen on, in their buildings where they've, placed permanent signs recognizing the leagues or clubs' achievements, whether they're at the district level, state level, national level. So I think it's just being consistent and understanding what's going to, I guess, go up there. And again, knowing that you've only got so much space on that wall.
Yeah, we'd like to fill it up as soon as possible and work the back of the snack bar. Yeah, so we want to make it, I think for the World Series team, the idea was that perhaps they got their own kind of 3x3 to recognize it, but say, had they only won regionals or only won states, that perhaps it's a recognition of just the teams all the teams on one sign that won something in that year, something at a certain level, like regionals or states. And 2019 was a very, very successful year for all of our travel teams on both the boys and girls side. And, we just want to be able to recognize them like other leagues do as well, especially since, in my opinion, they're going to have success for years to come with the teams that we have right now.
Yes, I think to your point, right, that space has only so many, if everything's 3x3 to have a consistent look and feel, what does that look like in terms of, like, if you were going to do that,
yeah,
you're going to fill that up, like, is it going to be a total of 8 signs, 9 signs, and then what is that?
Yeah, I'm not.
So just so it doesn't look like it's just, haphazardly thrown up there, I think.
Yeah,
maybe
that's
come
fair.
back or just send another image and say, hey, this is what it could look like in the, when it's full.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you go to other places and you'll see signs from 1980 and they're still up there, but they just keep putting them in different places. So knowing that we don't necessarily have the same luxury, just what you're thinking about in terms of consistency. And
yeah, we'll just sabotage a couple of teams in a year if they're getting too successful and we're running out of space. That's
that one team that is up there now could have 9 in a row, like you said.
Yeah.
So
they were slated to go to Florida this year. They got an invitation to go to a World Series they were holding in Florida, and it's disappointing that they weren't able to do that. But I'm sure, they also will have success in the future. And you see it when we have some of our banners from last year hanging up on some of the backstop cages, but not every travel coach ends up turning those banners in. I'm sure they use them as they're in their houses somewhere. I think Greg Weber probably uses his as a blanket somewhere, but we'd like to recognize them in some way.
No, I mean, it's great. I don't know if any of the other board members have any questions or for Noel regarding the sign.
I don't really have any objections. I actually like the idea of recognizing the teams that have had some success like that. I like the fact that Noel's talked about it being a more permanent kind of sign instead of just those little vinyl things that will probably rip in the wind in a year or so.
Yeah.
Doug, I don't know if you were like somehow suggesting that maybe Noel go back and bake the plan around signage a little more to kind of get, some firm sense of like capacity and dimensions and just have that a little more baked, or you were thinking that as long as they realize there's limitations, they can do what they want there. But as long as it's done neatly, sometimes even if they're different sizes, it can look kind of eclectic and be cool. But I'm supportive of the signage and the recognition, and I'm easy with the size.
Noel, just as an idea, if you wanted to, since there's all these different degrees of accomplishments, you could always do like a bigger one for like that World Series year.
Right.
And then kind of like that be in the middle with some space for if we win other World Series. I mean, I know that's,
Yeah, it's
So once-
better. I mean, you have big shoes to
and then you
fill.
can kind of do like a smaller one, which would be regional, and like a bit like a bigger one that states, and you know what I mean? And there could be some.
Yeah, I think the idea we were talking about is like, so if we went back and did 2019, we would have this one World Series sign and then another 2019 sign that had, Weber's
Yeah,
states and whoever else. I mean, everybody won districts, a couple of them won states. But then really also, we do have to figure out at the softball complex, because not all of those teams necessarily participate in the same kind of tournament trails. What would be the recognition? What tournaments would, we be recognizing on the GEM side? And their setup's a little different where they don't have this, immediate like focal point as you come to their snack bar. There's not really a wall. There's the pavilion. So we definitely want to talk through that before we present anything related to Fred Allen. But the other thing we had kind of went back and forth on is this sign originally was orange with a lot more going on. We wanted to, at least, part of our recommendation to the person who designed it was to tone it down just slightly, because you wanted to keep with the feel of like some of the other signs throughout the township, and then it wasn't just like, bam, all this orange right in front of your face. But certainly keeping with the logos and our color scheme.
My only other,
The YMS, I mean, I know it's a different sport, but the YMS sign is up, and it's actually right. And the only reason I say it is because it kind of relates. When you pull in right at that fork in the road at Makefield, there's now this like new sign that I think is just up this year that says like YMS like national like 2-time national champion or something like that.
Yeah. So we actually have signs like that being designed as we speak as well. We're not ready to suggest signs of that nature for either complex, but we want to do something directional and at least something at MAC to recognize our presence there too. But this is just for the honorees of our of the World Series for now.
and I would, if you do go further in terms of saying, hey, these are World Series signs, we've got, a sign for district. Since there are enough previous commissioners around, you probably could get like a sign for the previous district winners or state participants.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, during my tenure or through Jason's tenure, Len's tenure, there's previous, if you need to, get a list of all the previous kind of winners to get one sign just to cover the historical perspective. I mean, I don't know how far back you can go. I'm sure I can help you at least try to get some there if you want to go back there.
Yeah, they would like that too.
Any more work for you, but I know my son's team played in the state tournament at age 8, whatever, so they were district champ. I'm sure there are quite a few others. So depending on what.
Yeah, we still need to see some of those too, right? For the kids that are playing there now to see what kind of success, their parents and older brothers and sisters had. And yeah, I think it would be really neat. It definitely sounds like a project Birdie wants to handle for sure, though.
My hands full with the other projects. I do want to say about the lips, how important the lip thing is. Like Stoddard 2 as an example, from the shortstop to left field is probably 1.5 to 2 foot drop. Last year at the end of the season, a ground ball came and literally just the kid was in perfect fielding position. It bounced up because of that lip, hit him in the head, and it was an immediate golf ball on his forehead. So the signs is obviously aesthetic, but I can't stress enough from the field perspective how important this is. Softball fields are even worse shaped than the baseball fields, I would actually probably say.
Yeah, and I think we've been talking about it for about at least as long as I've been coming to these meetings, is something that we'd want to do or something we'd want to take care of. And we are fortunate to get Sean Graham back as our field maintenance director this year, and with Brody's help and Jason Fidishin and others that went out and solicited quotes and really talked to different folks about what could be done there. I think we ended on a really great vendor that was really honest and looking for us to get the best price, but really the best outcome for the fields. There was one other thing I wanted to mention, and unfortunately, I'm just mentioning it because I promised the person who sent it to me that I would, but they didn't send it to me in enough time for me to get it over to Monica, and so I just want to put it on. But I will work with Monica, and if possibly this has to wait till the next meeting. But we are looking to put similar bullpens at the 2 upper Kiola fields of 50-70 and 60-90, similar to those that were approved for Les Finella over at the Fred Allen fields last year. So really just a place for the kids to be on the outside of the fences to warm up pitching rather than kind of down the line in foul territory like they have previously. So that's something that I'll certainly share with Monica, but that I'll likely be coming back to the Parks and Rec Board for, and we have been given, actually the Pacey from the high school has volunteered to kind of put them in for us with some of the folks that he works with. So I wish I had that prior to this meeting, but I just got it about an hour and a half ago. Sorry, my dog is trying to play as we're on the meeting.
No, that's fine. I think I know out in I know they've had them set up at over at
I can't hear you.
Sorry,
It might just be my computer.
I know they have those at Makefield where the pitching is set up outside at the on the fields there. So.
Oh, Doug.
Oh, there we go.
The board would have to approve this project in its entirety. So if you're not ready to approve the sign without seeing it, I would wait for a further meeting. But at this point, the park board can approve it, and then the PAA can move forward with whatever the park board approves.
Are you saying the sign and the grading has to be as one project?
I think the grading could be one approval. The sign would be a separate, right? Separate approval, correct, Monica?
It could be separate, yeah. Doesn't have to be one motion.
So I think if someone wants to make a motion on the lip, I mean, I think everybody seems to be in favor of that. This has been nothing new. I think we've fixed that lip several times in my tenure, so it's just an ongoing maintenance issue. So does anybody want to make a motion to approve?
Move we approve the request to repair the lips on the baseball fields as Noel described.
Second.
Any seconds? Any comments? If no other comments, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. With regard to the sign, anybody have any more comments regarding the sign proposal before we give them an okay to move forward?
Should we just maybe make I mean, I'd be comfortable with making the motion and kind of doing whatever deferrals to Monica's somewhat discretion, working with maybe making the motion for Noel, for the league to work with Monica to, ensure the design is kind of up to the standard of the other signs in the township. Not necessarily that it's going to look exactly like that, but.
I mean, I don't know what other signs you're referring to. I mean, because I think
I guess
these
what I'm
are
saying,
gonna be unique.
if we have any questions, if you want to get it approved today so it can go to the board, then we can approve it kind of with Monica's discretion on the design of the sign if you wanted.
To be honest, I don't think this has to go to the Board of Supervisors. This is a minor improvement to but the park board should give written approval for them to move forward.
So I'm actually, I said before, I'm comfortable with them moving forward with the recognition and signs, but I'm just going to throw it out there again. Does anyone have any concern with having a better idea of the go forward plan for signs, like, sizes and that stuff? And I don't know that it has to be done before we approve this, but it could be a part of the approval to say, go ahead with the sign that was proposed, but then also come back with plans for future signage. So,
I would agree with that there should be, some forethought into what qualifies to go up on that wall, what it would look like, but I don't, I think that they can do that in conjunction. We can approve the sign for the World Series, but then, Noel should come back with the plan for the rest of how it looks.
I think it's twofold. One, it's not only the sign for the World Series, but just utilizing that space for a sign, right? So getting approval to do that. And then I think for the members of the board, Noel is just at a subsequent meeting coming back with what the plan of action would be moving forward.
Got it.
So I think
We're great with that. We can certainly do that for sure.
so. If someone wants to make a motion,
Roy, did you already get your motion in today, or did you want to do that?
I did. Yeah, no, I did, but I'll get it in. Motion to approve the World Series sign by PAA with plans to come back at a future meeting to tell the future story of the signs. Future plan.
So well said.
Thank you. I already gave mine. I go for the first one now.
any additional comments on the motion?
I think we know what he meant. Yeah. I'll second that.
Second.
Yeah.
No additional comments. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? No opposed, and so approved. Noel?
Awesome. Thank you all very, very much. You don't know how, I know they're minor things really, but I can tell you, you just made some softball and baseball dads and moms happier than you could ever in 2020. So it's little things like this that get them really jazzed and excited. So I thank you, and probably off my back for like a week and a half, maybe.
Good luck with that, Noel.
Thanks.
All right, Noel, anything else for us while we have you? Any other questions for the PAA group while she's on the line?
If it's okay, I'll just say, like, so that the rest of the leagues can give their updates later. We're about finishing up our Sandlot League, which went super well. We had even kids join halfway in between, both on the baseball and softball side. So a lot of goodwill for the members of our community, and we're pretty excited about it. We just wrapped up travel baseball tryouts with announcements of teams going out tonight, and we have 2 teams at every age group with the exception of 12s and 9s. So also happy about that. Softball certainly, as you all know, probably they do their tryouts in July. So we also have a new set of GEMS teams already rostered. And we have been, we're coming up on our second weekend of what they call the Spooktacular. So you'll see a lot of teams at Fred Allen within our guidelines and social distancing and all those great things, and pared down from previous years. But certainly a lot of great fun happening on our fields.
Great. We'll continue the good work, and we look forward to hearing what's going to happen in the spring. So
Thank you, Noel.
Awesome. Yeah. So thank you all.
Great. Our next agenda topic is the CAPR presentation, and I know I sent out to each of you some Word documents regarding some work that Monica is asking us to volunteer for. So I'm going to, hopefully you've had an opportunity to kind of review those Word documents, but if not, we will spend a little bit of time here this evening to kind of go through it. So Monica, I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of, the way I kind of want to see this is just kind of give us a brief overview of, like, really top line. I think everybody's familiar with CAPRA, what the two sections are that you're asking for help on, and then kind of the process from the subcommittee, what the expectations are and deliverables and timelines. I know people will have a lot of questions, but I want to make sure that everybody's clear on kind of what the objective is, what the assignment will look like, and what the deliverables are with the appropriate timeline. So.
Sure. So I'd be glad to talk about CAPRA. I love to talk about CAPRA. So I really appreciate your help with this. We actually extended our CAPRA submission deadline by a year. Due to COVID, the committee allowed anybody who wanted to extend for free. So I took advantage of the extra year so we have some time to really focus on our submission. Each subcommittee will be working on a small section within the whole CAPRA document, which I can send you all the CAPRA document again. So you can kind of get a feel for what the entirety of the project is. So we have little subsections of the chapters for each of you to work on. So I'm just going to pull it open on my computer so I could keep track of who's who. So what we're looking for is up to 3 members to work on each section. The first section, I'm going to ask for 3 volunteers for, or 2 or 3, would be scope of program opportunities and outreach to diverse and underserved populations. Essentially, what you'll need to do is go over a review of what we currently do for each of these sections, how we could improve our programming, and kind of come up with a plan for this in the future. There are informational chapters that I have in a textbook that I'd be glad to share with you if you need help with that. There's also sample communities who have done this, and you can look at what they've used as their supporting documentation to give us guidance on what we can do. I know in this, we do have some programs in place. You could also work closely with the Disability Advisory Board to see what might be a need for the township. So I'd be glad to answer questions on this. I know at least one person expressed interest in this section, which was, I believe, Mike Lundy. Does anybody have any questions on specific to this section? That's Mike. Are you trying to talk, Mike Brody? Oh.
So what are we doing? We're going to be meeting in like small groups over the course of what, like the next X number of months?
Oh, timeline. I apologize. I did not go
Will
over
like
that.
community members be a part of these, or is it all just like different park and like advisory boards or whatever?
This is kind of a subcommittee of the park board. So essentially you're working with at least one more, but you can reach out to other people for help. So like I said, the Disability Advisory Board might be a good resource. There's other resources around that you could utilize to do it, but it would be a subcommittee of the park board. But you know, of course, you can call other communities, you could do research, you could do however, but essentially the board will be working on this. You could do something like a questionnaire that you send out to the community to find out interests. We are planning to do the needs assessment for the community, which includes community outreach. Maybe you could create a couple questions or things that you want to find out in the needs assessment as part of this section. So there's a lot you can do with it. But the timeline, we would need to, I would do monthly updates each meeting to talk to the board about where you're at or where you're struggling, that type of thing. And then by about March, we probably should have some sort of semblance of what you're planning to do for this section, because there are a number of sections. There might be some more help that we need down the line. So it's in March or April. And then the whole in entirety, the whole 10 chapters, because right, this is 6.3, we're doing 6.4, and I believe 10.1 for these due outs. The whole 10 chapters should be due in like November or December. We should be pretty far into it and working on final drafts by then.
Monica, if you could just explain to the group in terms of like what the output would be that they would deliver back. So I know you mentioned to me that there's certain language and certain way it's written up and they don't need to worry about that. So just more about what that output would look like. So they just have a sense of what needs to be brought back to us and ultimately then given to you to hand off to complete the document. So just so they're kind of given an idea of what the deliverable is supposed to look like.
Oh, sure. Well, each section has a little bit different deliverables. Using other community samples are very good, but what I would suggest, you can choose how you want to present this to the board. But any final documents that get submitted, you don't have to format or anything like that, because we have a standard format we've been working with, and we can do that internally in the office. So really what we need is, if say there's a new policy that we need, or say there's some kind of a form or document that the community should be filling out, we have a standard format that we're using in office that we can format it for you. So you don't have to worry about getting fancy or anything like that. Essentially, all we need is the write-up and the content. You can break it up how you want, like headings, subheadings, or that kind of thing. But other than that, we could take it over from there once the board is happy with whatever the output is. So I don't want you to worry about that look and feel type thing. If you want to use charts, graphics, or whatever to explain anything, that'd be great. Meeting minutes or slides that we use in meetings could also be used as supplementary data for our putting this into the document. So we could use those presentations as a way of communicating what we're doing to the community. So that's always a good thing too. Not opposed to that, but I wouldn't get too stuck in the weeds, and I can be in any meeting you're having. So when there's a subcommittee, I can sit in and assist, or give guidelines or whatever. Just let me know when you're meeting, and I'll try and be wherever I can for these meetings. Is there any more questions for this section in particular?
And I assume that we're supposed to still follow protocols and remain virtual, or is that up to the individuals on the subcommittees?
There might be a chance that you'd have to meet like at a park to walk through, be safe, follow social distancing. I would keep everything remote that you can. But a walkthrough of a park might be something that you need to do as part of this. So I wouldn't keep that totally out of line. I would try and keep it virtual. It doesn't have to be live if it's 3 or less board members, as long as a quorum isn't present for the meeting. So, that's good. And I'm glad to help. I've been embedded in this for so long, so I'm glad to help with anything. Please understand that we can also utilize our leagues or anybody who's a user of our parks as a resource for this. I know soccer, has some programs, and I know PAA has some programs. So please, as part of the total report, think broad, think of all of our users in our township. But so that's this section in a nutshell. And then the next section is 6.4, community health, wellness, and education and promotion. So one piece of this is, how do we educate the community about the leisure process? So, this is even something that we could probably do better as a board. And what type of community health, wellness, education, and promotion do we do? And it gives you some suggested evidence of compliance. And like I said, do a background of what we do an assessment, and then project to the future. And what I would do is kind of come up with things that we could use for that community needs assessment that we could give us, really get a good feedback, well-rounded feedback. But do understand that that's something that we're planning to do in 2021. And does anybody have any questions on this one?
You sent 6.3. You did not send 6.4 to the group, I don't think.
Yeah, this was in your email that you sent to the group.
Oh, okay. I know you
6.4.
sent the materials out for the meeting. 6.3 was.
Okay, I'm sorry if I didn't
Okay.
send it in my email, but you did send it to the group, so I
Right,
will
okay.
resend if that was missed.
Okay.
And then the last one, chapter 10.1, is there's a little bit more to this section, but a better evaluation process. This is something we certainly can do better about all of our programming in recreation, an evaluation process and kind of a plan to move forward, and how we should use those evaluation process, and how we should train the staff about evaluating program services and facilities. So that's technically that. I have to say we probably could do this better all the way around. So a good plan for this would be really good. But we really need to define what it is that we're looking for and what we need out of programming in this township. So this chapter was identified by our mentor as one of the more important chapters. 6 and 10 actually were the two most important highly weighted chapters. So I want you to know that this is something that's very important to the CAPRA accreditation process. And does anybody have any questions about this section? I don't see any.
No questions from anybody? So I think the next step would be to at least assign the subcommittee. So there's 6 of us, correct, Monica? If I counted correctly, right?
6 today, yeah. And Trish said she would do, I think, anything.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's 7 of us total, 6 present. But what's the 4th individual do, since they can't be part of it? Or is it an alternate so they don't all show up at the same time? Is that how that works?
You can sign up for more than one.
Yeah.
Or you can, a 4th person can't be in the group. So I would do maybe 2, 2, and 3.
2, 2, and 3. Okay, so
I mean, it could be 3, 3, and 3.
Yeah, if you want to do 2, if you want to do 2 chapters, it could be 3, 3, and 3.
Yep. So I know Mike, so you had Mike Blundy, you had an interest in 6.3, correct?
Yeah, just remind me what the subject is.
Go ahead, Monica.
It's scope of project or program opportunities and outreach of diverse and underserved populations.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to participate in that section?
I'll do it. That's fine.
All right, Tricia.
Glad to work with you, Mike. Glad to work with you.
Any others? I can fill in if we don't have a third. I can.
Oh, you don't need a third.
Yeah, you don't need a third.
I don't need
I
one.
think that we'd put third on 10 if that's the one that Monica thinks is the biggest.
10 probably needs the most work.
Okay. So that covers 6.3 and 6.31, right?
Yeah, 6.3 and 6.31. Yes. Mhm.
And then we have 6.4, which again, you just want to restate what that one is again.
6.4 is community health, wellness, and education and promotion, and community education of leisure process. And I think Kim said she was interested in this one.
I am, yes.
All right, and I'll join that one. And then, unless Dennis, you have a preference?
No, I'll work on the last one.
Okay, so that would leave Dennis
Put Dennis on that.
and Mike Brody, where are you on the last one then?
Yeah, I'll work with Dennis on that.
And then,
David, maybe
Who?
David Malinowski.
we'll just assign David to number 10. Well, he could pick either 10 or 6-4, but if 10 needs 3, we'll put David on there.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for that. And I think that's all. If anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, call, email, or whatever.
When do we get our Capra t-shirts?
Right, and we'll have to make those up.
Get a hat and t-shirt and a
Yeah.
lanyard, keychain.
Face mask.
Well, once we get accredited, we can use the logo wherever we see fit. So well, within their guidelines, of course, but
And I'll just ask that, I mean, obviously we meet once a month. I know that it'll take some time for you guys to get up and running, but so don't feel stressed like to have, something for every meeting. I mean, we'll ask you ahead of time if you want to be put on the agenda for an update. But definitely let's try to stay on top of this, so we're not cramming everything in February for March. So I know everybody will be busy, but if you can carve out some time over the next couple of months to get started, and again, just let Monica know or myself if you need any assistance. But Monica will make herself available for any of the subcommittee meetings. And again, Monica, if you could just send out, I think you mentioned to me there was links. So if you do some Google searches for these sections or Capra, some of you said already kind of submitted documents show up, so you can get some idea of kind of what the look and feel of actual submitted, proposals have been. So
yeah, I mean, there are Capra documents all over, and once we complete our final submission, ours will be online too. So all of our programs, policies, everything will be online, even our staff policies, everything. So it's a nice, transparent way to see how we operate and why we make decisions and how we make decisions, and helps us with programming and that type of thing. So that will be very good. So I think that's all I have.
all right. Thank you, everybody, in advance. Next agenda item is the budget update from Monica. So I know we had a pretty healthy discussion during our September meeting about projects and our enthusiastic approach to wanting to do as much as possible given the kind of the state of affairs in terms of the pandemic and how everybody's spending more time outdoors. Reality is we've only got a limited number of trees that grow in our backyard, and a limited amount of dollars available. So what Monica shared to you is kind of the proposal for 2021 and the out years. So she's going to take us through what's going to be recommended to the Board of Supervisors, both and Kurt for projects for 2021 from a budget perspective, as well as the out years, as well as the fee updates for 2021.
Okay, so what I did was take the conversation we had last week and try to make things as clear and clean as I could, knowing what we know right now. There is an upcoming budget workshop with the Board of Supervisors on the 26th. Kurt and I are still cleaning up the 2021 budgets in order to be ready for that. But this is what I can foresee at this point as far as reality when it comes to the 2021 budget. Some of the things, the projects that we can do is the community center doors for $25,000, complete the needs and assessment and create a Parks and Recreation strategic plan. Do our scheduled bike path repair, which was $22,000. Memorial Park repairs and patching on the playground. The community park tennis court repair, and the Woodside bike path. As long as we receive that grant, I believe we should be able to move forward with that also in 2021. We'll learn more about that soon. James, you might have a better idea about when that grant, we should hear more about that grant.
Yeah, I think they they have the application in, and have not heard back on when if we're approved for that grant or not.
Okay, so we're on the same page on that one. So
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it.
okay.
And Monica, just a quick question on the community center doors. I know those obviously do need to be repaired, and I don't know what the timing of that was. That like beginning of the year, later in the year?
I would like to get it done before we bring people back into the community center if we can. So it just depends on timeline for being able to start bringing people back, particularly the bulk of the seniors. It should be something that we do sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and the only question I ask is if we don't foresee like people coming back into the building, is that money, can that, when you look at the 2022 or other project, could that money shift to something else if necessary? If we see the building still being closed for an extended period of time, would that money be better served on something else? But I know it has to get done and it's in the budget, so but if nobody's coming into the building, do we have other needs that we could use that money for?
Well, I mean, I think we'd be thoughtful about that, but I think in the year 2021, people will be coming back into the building. That's my optimistic hope. To be honest, and I'd like to start phasing people in. I'd like to see how the winter goes as far as cases and start phasing people back in things that we can easily distance as soon as we can. I miss people. I'm really looking forward to having people back in the building. So, but we want to do it as safe as possible. So, hopefully we can do that soon. I have been in touch with the seniors, our staff have been in touch with the seniors. We do have still 20 seniors who have been in their house since March and have not left. We have about 60 seniors that we still hear from every single week. And there are about 120 on the list. So we're working with some of our local agencies to come up with care bags or cheer bags for the seniors. So I'm looking to hopefully create some kind of volunteer project out of that too. So just FYI, sorry, I got sidebarred, but I was thinking about the seniors with the door. So I just wanted to bring that up too.
Monica, is the bike path total cost here, is that the total project cost or just the township's portion of it plus the matching grant?
This part here, the 625, that is the total cost of the project. You can see the breakdown on the notes section.
Oh, not really, because my face is over it.
But you do have these slides. So it's 52,500, 15% match, Greenway Trail and Recreation Fund.
Yeah, the pictures from the Zoom are over that column, so I couldn't see it.
Apologize. Yeah. So it's that's kind of the breakdown of it. The cost would be significantly lower, if we get the grant, and we do have the money sitting there in the project fund.
So just a question, if we don't get the grant, it sounds like this wouldn't go forward. The money that's been allocated to this project, would it be reallocated somewhere else, or would we just hang on to it for the bike path for future?
This project, this money has been allocated to this project. There was a tax increase in order to have the money sitting there for the project. Okay. So I believe it would, and you can correct me, James, if I'm wrong, but I believe it is completely dedicated to this project at this point. It can't be.
Correct.
Okay, I'll let you go to the next slide, sorry.
No, it's okay. You have another question.
I was just kind of trying to remember what didn't make this cut.
Oh, you'll see that in the 2022 slide. So Memorial Park project is going to move to 2022 in its entirety. Our quotes that we got were significantly higher than what they were projected to be. And that's been a trend for this year prior to COVID. So I imagine the project is going to be much greater than the 500,000 that we had originally planned for it with the 250,000 matching grant. I believe we're going to need more money to complete it the way that we want it. One thing to potentially take a look at for future is maybe some fee in lieu money to see what's coming up, to do pieces of it. But, you know, I have to say, it certainly does make me sad to push it off.
Oh, the new paths that went in over the red pebble, they look really good.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad that you were able to go see them. That was a great project. Nothing's better than free.
Yeah, it was a cool material too. Like there was a chunk of it they left on the side, like a little pile of residue.
Uh-huh.
I picked it up and it's kind of like foamy asphalt. Cool.
Yeah, it's a nice impact-free or light walk. So
Well, it was easy to walk on, and clearly when you walked on it, you could feel that it was very forgiving. I guess durability will be the question. We'll see how long that lasts.
yeah. Yeah. So I'm very excited about it. Everybody get out there and look if you haven't yet. Also, the bike path repair for this year, 2022, is $45,000 for that's the third year of the 3-year plan that we put out last year. The Skylar tennis courts is a bigger project that we have in the potential works. I'd like to allocate money in 2022 towards that if available. There's also some light repair at the Garden Reflection. It's an $80,000 project at least. I'd love to get a better estimate on that, but it is something that needs to be fixed. We have a lot of dry rotting in all the ground lights around the whole park. So it's a pretty big overhaul of the whole light system. I know Ellen was able to, work magic. There's some funding out there right now for not garden reflection, but 9/11 memorials. So I've been just keeping my eye open to see if there's anything out there that we could apply for that. But it is something that needs to be fixed soon.
I know we talked at the last meeting, and then Dennis brought it up about like the timing of both the tennis courts at Memorial Park and then the Skylar just having inventory available. So I know we've talked in the past about how do you split up sometimes some of these projects into a 2 budget year. So I know we don't have anything in there for 2021. Obviously, we don't have funding, but like understanding if there's an opportunity to move up, let's say Memorial Park or one or the other, so that as the repairs are done, then you have the inventory available. So if you're not doing them both potentially, and depending on when you're doing do Skylar, right? If the other ones aren't complete yet at that time, so it's just managing timing. I know that looking at 2022, you're at potentially over $1 million in park projects. So if there's a way to find and allocate dollars in 2021 for maybe part of Memorial Park, so that some of it starts in late 2021 and finishes up in 2022. Just we've talked about this before, or at least maybe not during Park and Rec, but trying not to put everything in one year, right?
I agree, that would be great. At this point, I don't see it as being a reality unless if there's another way to do it. You know what I mean? I want to be very honest with you about that, and I don't foresee it happening in 2021 right now. But if it can, I would be glad to push it.
I think we all appreciate your honesty on the subject. I would just like to say honestly that I do feel strongly, like Doug just described, about that whole tennis court situation and the capacity and whatnot really has to be carefully thought out. And the fact that I guess I would love to go on record saying I do think something should be pulled into 2021 to kind of avoid a downstream nightmare of a tennis court situation.
Yeah, I mean, even if we planned Memorial Park at the beginning of 2022 and did Skylar once it was complete, we could probably do that too. But right now, if something works out, I will be glad to push that through. But right now, I just don't see it as being realistic.
What was the expiration on that grant?
Well, we would have to ask for an extension for that grant. So I believe Andy is working on that now. or engineer.
Because I do think the people on that side of town desperately need something in terms of tennis capacity also, so.
Oh, you know what? We're busting at the seams for any court right now. So I completely agree with you that there is a need
And
for,
pickleball, yes, not just tennis, but pickleball.
and basketball. There's waiting lines to get onto the basketball court. I mean, anything outdoor right now, we're busting at the seams everywhere. So I know that even Memorial Park in the evenings, you can't even find a parking spot. You know, between the playground, the basketball court. Now we have the flag football there. I mean, but it was a bustling park before, but now it's even more bustling. And you know, everything is just busy all the time. So it's great. It's great to see. That's what we want, people in parks.
I
So,
appreciate you providing the practical view, but I just think we need to challenge Kurt and the supervisors to find ways to do this, more of this next year.
oh, and also as a side note too, I have incorporate any findings that we have from the research that we're going to do and the planning into this. This is, you know, kind of a picture, a snapshot, but once we really get a idea of what the community wants and the community needs, we can kind of change gears based on that. And then for fees, I just decided that the court charge that I had asked to change is not worth changing at this time. It's not broken. I was just looking for a solution to a small problem. And I don't think there's a true need for it. So after reevaluating, I've removed that from my request. So the only changes you'll see are right here. So field rental, $250 for the day. Field rental, I made the adjustment that you suggested, $20 per hour with a 3-hour minimum. Picnic pavilion increased from $10 to $15 an hour, or $100 per day for park open hours. So if you have any questions about that, please let me know.
Looks good. Thank you.
Do we need to provide a vote on that or no?
You do. You have to recommend this to the Board of Supervisors.
Anybody wants to make a motion regarding the fee changes for 2021?
I make a motion.
Changes of the whole budget.
Before you make a motion, I just want to say something.
Sure.
I just want to go on the record that I feel like the field rental for a day of $250 is very high. And I'm going to tell you why I think this way. Because we had a situation with Williams travel team that one of the fields got flooded this time last year, and we were looking for a place to have their tournament playoff game. And I mean, one of the options was Makefield, but the team couldn't afford $250. And I just feel like in certain situations, I don't think that's a feasible thing.
That's why we
That's
added.
my own opinion.
That's why we added this $20 an hour for a 3-hour minimum. So if you do a 3-hour game, it'd be $60 field rental.
Ah, okay. Gotcha. Then disregard my statement, please.
Make the motion. Chris, okay to move forward with the motion now?
Absolutely, Dennis. So sorry to interrupt you.
I make a motion that the Park and Rec Board recommend to the supervisors the fee changes for 2021 as described by Monica.
Second.
We have a second. Any more comments? If no additional comments, all in favor of the motion to approve the fee changes for 2021, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay, and so approved of the fee changes for 2021. All right, so next on our agenda for tonight is liaison report. I know we've heard from PAA. I don't know, Monica, if there is anybody else from any of the other leagues on the line.
Gordon was on the line. I did text him to tell him that we're on liaison report, but I have not heard back yet.
And YMS is not on the line. I know they had their soccer tournament this past weekend. So, oh, there's Gordon back. I don't know if Gordon has wants to jump in.
Yep, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes,
Great,
good evening.
thank you very much. Good evening, thank you very much for having me here. So I just wanted to give a quick update. From a LMFA football perspective, we are having a wonderful season. It's the amount of thank yous, I get on a Saturday morning by parents, and even the older kids just thanking us for being able to pull the season off, and, being able to get the kids out there playing safely has been, wonderful. So I want to thank, this board and the board of supervisors for the opportunity, to get the kids back out there, I guess, first and foremost. The good news is that people are actually following the rules. We've asked for one spectator per family, and don't get me wrong, I'll allow a grandparent here or there, but there's actually parking spots on a Saturday morning at Makefield, which for anyone who's been down there in the last 5 years of is unheard of. So I mean, people really are following the rules. We're diligent on making sure people are wearing their masks, when they're on the sidelines, watching the games, etc. So I think it's, it's been great to see, and, a lot of enjoyment to, from the kids and from the parents, just to be able to go out and, watch their kids play. So our numbers are right around where we were last year. And quite frankly, we probably could have gone higher than last year, but given we'd had to, for our Go to Green plan, we added an extra 15 minutes in between each game. So we basically lost a full session which is 6 games of flags. So we, given that, unfortunately, we did have to cut off registration. So there were some kids we couldn't get in, just given the amount of field space and time we have the fields for the games. But huge interest, and like I said, the numbers are right around where we were last year, and probably easily could have gone higher. And then the only last thing I wanted to touch on, Monica had mentioned Memorial Park. That has absolutely been a great addition to our our league, and having the opportunity to let the younger kids practice at that field. And I've been down there a couple times, again, the good news is folks seem to be sticking to the rules and just practicing on the football field, only parking in the designated parking spots. So again, especially this year, given that we weren't allowed to use any of the school fields, it was really that helped us allow teams to actually have practice, as opposed to just games 1 or 2 days a week. So again, really appreciate the opportunity, and I know the parents and the community really appreciate it as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Gordon.
Thanks for the update. Appreciate it.
Gordon, I guess I'm not surprised that the parents are thanking you for giving this opportunity to kids to get out and get some fresh air and stuff. Have you heard anything, or Monica, have you heard anything from residents in the area about that use of Memorial Park? I hope not. I'm just asking.
I have not had any complaints.
Perfect.
I've been out there for my son practices out there in it. It's really peaceful. Like like even without it, what I mean by that is like nobody's blowing whistles. It's really quiet. It's not even like, it doesn't even sound like a normal football practice. When I think of football, especially, I would think of like pads hitting, people yelling. You know what I mean? It's really quite benign to the area, to be honest.
Yeah, and I would add to that, Brody. I've been there a number of times too, because I walk my dogs there. But it's I find it kind of electric to hear the subtle sounds that there are there. It's life, right? I love to see the fact that people are getting out, and I'm glad we have some space that can be used. I know there's a concern about it violating its original constitution, what it was intended to be used for, but I think under the circumstances, probably good use of that space.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Gordon.
Thanks, Gordon.
So we don't have anybody else from the other leagues. Monica, I'm going to turn it over for you to give us our update on special events.
Sure. Today I'm just covering special events. Our parks are bustling. Things are going smoothly and well. Everybody's following COVID. We actually, for 9/11, even had the 5K. So very social distance 5K. I have to say it went very well. I couldn't imagine how a 5K would operate under COVID circumstances. And the company who organized it did a great job to raise money for the 9/11 fund. We did have the 9/11 drive-through. We opened the park, or had the fountains on a little longer for 9/11 for 2 weeks, and the park was full all day for those 2 weeks. The drive-through event went smoothly and well, and I have to say it was a great adaptation for the year that we've been having. So that was good. For Veterans Day, I met with the Veterans Committee last week. We all decided that it would be very difficult to pull off a parade in a COVID scenario with some of the veterans we have and putting them in cars and putting them together. And Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, a lot of them can't be involved, and some of the mummers won't come places. So we just don't see how we could do a COVID friendly parade. However, we are going to do a modified ceremony at 1 o'clock at the park or at the Veterans Square. We'll have a couple speakers. We'll honor a veteran. We'll do, the taps and, a true ceremony. So we welcome you to come to that ceremony at a social distance, or you can watch it online on all of our social media channels and our cable channel live that day, or rewatch it later if you miss it. So that's what we have for Veterans Day. Also on the same day, November 7th, we are doing with the Environmental Advisory Board, we are doing a tree planting at Patterson Farm. So I'm helping organize volunteers for that event. And if you'd like to volunteer, help plant some trees, we have about, I think, 120 or 30 trees that we'll be planting that day. We're going to have some social distancing. We put out our Sign Up Genius today. So sign up online, and you can find that on all of our social media and our email blast, the link to sign up. And that's really what we have going on right now. We're trying to prepare for next year. I fully anticipate that we'll be able to offer some version of the pool. We're working on that. And, we're just trying to work through things, see where COVID takes us, and try to program where we can. So that's what's going on right now.
Hey, Monica, where are the trees going at Patterson, relatively speaking, if
It's going along the tree line. I have a whole map I can send you, Mike, if you are interested in seeing it. Or I'd be glad to open it and share it with you now if you are so inclined.
Either way, a send is fine.
Okay, I will send it to you now.
Getting better. I'm getting better at my age.
I can send it to all the information to the whole board, so you guys can all see it. So I'll send that out today. So does anybody else have any questions about what's going on? No. One big thing too, I'm still waiting from the leagues to get their head counts. I've asked them to send, many of the leagues offered programming where they didn't charge for things that they didn't charge for. I'm not charging, but I do want a count of how many people they had participating in their program. So I asked them for a full count, both of athletes they charged and athletes they did not. So I'm still waiting on a few of those from the leagues. And we have 130 people on our pickleball team right now. 130. It's record.
And how many still on the wait list? 40?
We did have a wait list of 60 people deep. I finally had to say, I'll take all residents, and anybody who was a non-resident, I said to try back again later. So
All the more reason we got to push for those courts at Memorial Park.
yeah, we are definitely busting at the seams. So
Can we use the community center?
no,
Indoor?
not right now.
Indoor, in the main room. We can just bring the nets in there and play. Line off the community center.
I appreciate your suggestion, Doug.
Just for the winter, you need an indoor place.
I know this is a little off topic, but is the racket club still open for use for the winter?
Bonnie's still in communication with the gentleman over there, but they only have the one tennis court. So, and I think a lot of the racket clubs are just, trying to extort fees given the limited availability. So I think right now, last I spoke to Bonnie, that they haven't called her back on. So.
Oh, okay.
So she's been in contact to like LA Fitness. They have a big gym in there, the basketball court that nobody's using. Can they line the courts over there? It's just a matter of getting somebody to commit to lining the courts. So unless you want to put a bubble on Cardinal.
That's a conversation for another day, I think.
Anyway, does anybody else have any other topics they want to bring up or discussion?
No,
No.
Oh, that's a quick question, Monica. If like the leagues would have come to you and said, "Hey, for like we just had baseball tryouts," if they would have come to you and said, "Hey, can the LMT page post about like can the Park and Rec page post that PAA was having tryouts, or that YMS is having tryouts, or that the other leagues are having tryouts?" Would that be something that the LMT Park and Rec Facebook page would be willing to post out?
We can post it out. We just have to limit. I mean, I can't post every single thing that you do, but if you have something big, I will.
Yeah, something big like
Yeah.
tryouts.
Yeah. Tryouts, or if you win a giant championship, of course we want to celebrate. But every single post that you post,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you put together like a PDF with all the age groups and times, I know softball does them a little differently because the teams are, but if they put, like they used to give out, like, here's one document with all the different, then that would probably be easier versus like.
It was more of a general comment for the township to promote all of the leagues, as opposed to,
Yes, we've done that before. But you'd have to tell me.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, if there's
That wasn't a shot that you didn't do it. It was truly a question as to if a league came to you and said, "Hey, would you post this?" Is that something that we would post?
Yeah, and it's better if you have a social media post that I can share to our page.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And just send me that link and I can do that.
That makes
I
sense.
think sometimes they don't necessarily, I know the government channel, I mean, if you give the information, they used to do that as well, even though I don't know how many people watch Channel 22, but nonetheless.
Well, we're actually working to fine tune our process for getting information out. So there'll be one form that you fill out, and then this is how you do social media. This is how you do television. Like, what do you want? How, you know what I mean? Like, kind of like a menu as a local resource. Of course, we can't post for every single business or anything like that, but township related information we can put out. So we're working on kind of fine tuning that, because you kind of have to go everywhere to put stuff out on township avenues right now.
All right.
James,
If there's not any,
James on the spot for a second, if I can, Doug, with the impending sewer sale, as we're discussing all the different ways of putting that money aside, to what extent would any of the Park and Rec projects, such as a revised Snipes or an existing Snipes or anything like that, to what extent is any of that being discussed or started, or can you give us any sense of what that would look like in the timeline?
To be honest, I wouldn't know. That'd be more of a James question.
Yeah, I asked him.
Oh, you asked James. I'm like, oh, okay, good, because I don't have that.
I'm going to let Monica answer. I don't think any of that really has been discussed.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know that there's other pending bills that are being slotted with that money, but I'm sure at some point, probably within the next, I would guess 12 months or so, probably this time next year, we're going to have a better picture for where all that money is going to lie and what's available for what fund. So in 12 months, I'll be able to have a better answer, unless Monica can sneak one in between now and then.
I don't have any sneaky answers. Oh, it's funny.
Nothing else from me, Doug. Thank you.
all right, if there's no other discussion topics for tonight, then we will, anybody would like to bring forward a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Hey,
Do we have a
Brody,
second?
Yes.
stay on the call for a second.
Yeah, sure.
I
I second the motion to adjourn, except for me after everybody else adjourns.
All right, thank you, everybody. Motion adjourned. I'm gonna bang the gavel.
All right, thanks. Brody, I just wanted to
Good
get
night.
you one so I can put it in my phone, since we're gonna be working